We are back with week 2 of mobility. So again, the goal every week, we're going to give you 3 movements. Your goal is to add movements in. So do last week's movements with the spine, the shoulders, and the hips, and then add in this week's movements of spine, shoulder, and hips. So at the end of the month, you will have 4 movements for each of these. So first one we're going to do is we're going to start with the hips. So Lindsay is going to start down in a seated straddle position, making sure the toes are pointed towards the sky and making sure the feet are as wide as possible. So this is called a straddle hip internal rotation. So Lindsay's going to start over on the right side. She's going to place both hands on each outside of each leg or outside of her right leg, focusing on this back hip, rotating internally rotating through that back hip as far as we can. Chest can rotate around as much as we need. That right leg can bend as much as we need. We're just trying to get this back hip into as much internal rotation as possible while keeping it locked out. We'll come back to neutral. We'll try to get a little wider, and then we will do that again. Good, so we'll rotate for about 5 seconds, keeping this leg locked out, rotating all the way through with that back hip, feeling the inner back hip as we rotate. So I want you guys to do 5 to 10 of these as we try to rotate through. We're just going to show you 3, rotating all the way through, and then we'll come back to neutral. Again, widening out the legs every time. She will do 2 more with that right side. So leaning over to the left, rotating through that back leg as far as we can, trying to keep that calf off the ground. That's going to help keep the leg and hip long. Back to neutral, and then she will rotate 1 more time through that back hip. Again, keeping the calf off the ground, that leg extended. Hip, straddle, internal rotation. That is your hip movement for the week. The next one we will show you, we will do a seated forward fold position. Focusing, yes, on the hamstrings, but trying to get into as much spinal flexion as possible. An easy way to do that is to focus on your stretch of the hamstring. So Lindsay will stretch down all the way as far as she can, whether that is ankles, whether that is toes, whatever that is. She will grab onto 1 foot as far down as she can, making sure the feet stay where they are. She will bend 1 leg. If we can't grab onto the foot, we just grab onto the calf, and that is perfectly fine. So she'll bend the leg slightly, the foot stays where it is, grabbing on as much of that foot as possible as she extends through the knee. So we will squeeze and flex that and extend the knee as far as possible. We'll hold, and then we will bend. We'll try to grab onto more of the foot, and then we will extend down again, making sure we can extend through that knee all the way. She will bend 1 more time. She will show us 2 with the other side as well. So she will squeeze, hold that knee extended, and then she will relax. She'll rest for a second, and then she will go to the other side. Again, making sure we keep the feet where they are, and we flex the back down as far as possible. These are called elephant walks. Do 5 to 10 of these, holding this knee extended position for 5 seconds. Sweet, thank you. And then the last one, moving up into the shoulders, still moving through the spine, but we're focused on the shoulders here. So we'll start in a puppy pose, meaning not a child's pose, a puppy pose. A puppy pose is hips above the knees, not hips way back behind the knees. Lindsay will reach out as far as she can, hands are shoulder width apart, getting into as much back extension as possible. Yes, lower back, but focused on that upper back extension and that shoulder flexion. So she will sit down in this position. We're gonna hold for 10 seconds. After the 10 seconds, she will bring the chest up, leaving the hips where they are, and then driving that chest back towards the ground. The goal is eyes forward, so getting also that neck into extension, as well as the shoulders into flexion, and then that thoracic into as much extension as possible, arching all the way down to that lumbar spine as well. She'll do it 1 more time, up tall, and then she'll come back down, trying to breathe through the position and get as much back extension and neck extension as you can. Do this 5 to 10 times, holding this position for 10 seconds. Sit up. And those are your 3 mobility movements for week 2.